You guys want, I mean, it's probably unlikely that we're gonna get through all of them.
Can you do number 36?
Okay, so I wanna make sure that we get through everything that we want to get through.
Wait, did you guys do number 38?
Not yet.
We got 3 questions or what? 2 questions. I wish I had a phone that actually did that. We had the same joint with
Okay, Chris is planning an area shaped like this polygon. She draws a model similar to desired play area. The length of the longest side of her model is 33 centimeters. What is the length of the shortest side of the model? Okay. Length of the longest side is what?
33 centimeters.
So the one, basically we're having, because when you have scale models, what are they as far as figures are concerned? What type of figures are they?
Similar.
Similar. They're a shrunken down version. So the sides are proportional. So the longest side in her model was what, 33? Mm-hmm. Isn't this got to be the longest one, right? Do they want to know all the other sides? Is that correct? Or they want to know what
Shortest
the
side.
what? Shortest side.
Which would be
Which one's the shortest side up here?
Z.
12, so it would be Z in this case. So 33, which is this one, over what?
44.
44 is equal to Z over what?
12.
Cross multiply,
I just don't get how you want to do that.
because they have to be similar, because it's just, the ratios of the corresponding sides are always equal. If one's twice as big, then if the length of that side's 10, the length of the one twice as big is what? 2.
20.
That's the ratio we're talking about, 1 to 2. If it's 3 times as big, if one side's 10, the one that matches it will be what? 30. That's the ratio of 1 to 3, or 3 to 1. So what you're always going to do is create a proportion. Proportions are very, very handy. How do I make it X so it's less confusing? Proportions are very handy when comparing things that you want to be the same, just in a smaller, bigger way. And so when you cross, what's 33 times 12?
396.
Divide both sides by 44.
Get 9.
I just kind of like use common sense.
I
on
totally
that.
guessed.
Yeah, I guessed. I got 9.
You can do that, but I would suggest, I mean, just remember, if things are similar, so they even use the word what?
Similar.
Similar, the ratio of corresponding sides are the same. So, you know, you can put, as long as you keep everything, you know, smaller model. You know, notice here, smaller thing with what? Smaller one,
And bigger.
larger, larger. See what I mean? Okay, next one. Does anybody have any questions on it? Perimeters, the ratios are the same.
What is 1 to 2?
If the, well,
It means for every one, there's 2 on the other one. Right. Yep.
that's not equal, but if here's the ratio of the perimeters, the ratio of the areas is squared. So if the ratio was 1 to 2, then the ratio of the areas is 1 to 4. Okay?
Oh. So it must be deep.
So, because areas are squared because it's squared units. So here, this is our ratio. So 1 over 4 is equal to, which one's the smaller one? RS, so that would be what, 25 over X?
Cross multiply.
The answer is D, isn't it?
That was wrong.
Oh.
What? I didn't know
Because
about
they
that.
said RSTU to that, so that's 1 to 2 of the what? Perimeters. The ratio of the areas is then the square of that. 1 squared is what? 1, 2 squared is what? 4. So you put 1 over 4 is equal to, they gave you something for RSTU, so that's 25 on top. Make that x, cross multiply and solve.
I did not know about the whole x squared y squared.
That's all right. Now you do. Which additional facts prove that they're congruent? This is just knowing what? Side angle side and all that stuff. Okay? First of all, we've got one set congruent, right? Our possibilities are what? Side, 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 angle, angle, and angle, angle, what?
Angle side.
So, looks like they're wanting to give us 2 more, right? So obviously we're doing what? Side, side, side. Okay. R corresponds to what?
W.
S corresponds to what?
X.
T corresponds to what?
Y. U. Y.
Okay, so that would mean that triangle to circle needs to correspond to triangle circles. So all you got to do, you've got it marked correctly. You just need to look and see which one of these is saying what you have here. RS congruent to what? XW. Okay, that one works, right? RSXW. How about, and then ST is congruent to XY. That one works.
Yes.
So which one is it?
A. A.
That one's the one that doesn't work there, right? But if you look at it, it doesn't work out. Now, next one. Which must be true for those two to be congruent? Okay, P corresponds to what?
T. Oh, one.
Right? Q corresponds to what?
S.
And what? R corresponds to what?
B.
So, circle, right?
Yeah.
Triangle, square. See how they flipped it around on you?
I got it right.
Does everyone agree?
Correct.
So which one of these works? QR? Is that congruent to ST? No.
That's
PR? Is that congruent to ST?
no.
QR?
Definitely correct.
QR, is it congruent to SV? Yes. A lot of questions on just knowing that things have to be written in corresponding order, correct? What additional facts are needed to produce that the two triangles are congruent? Maybe mark your corresponding sides. Let's see. What corresponds to R? Z. What corresponds to S? What corresponds to Y? Okay. Angle R congruent to angle Z. Okay. And T congruent to Y. Do we have an angle theorem? What are our possibilities? Side, 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 angle, and what? Angle, side. Right? Do we have an angle theorem?
No.
No, because guess what? When triangles are similar, all the angles are congruent. But being similar does not mean that they are congruent. Wake up! So that one won't work. The one with two angles won't work, period, right? So I'm down to this. RS congruent to XZ and RT congruent to ZY. Will that one work?
Yes.
Why?
Because 2 out of the 3 are correct.
It's two sides and an angle. Is it side, angle, side?
No.
Is it side, the angle in between, and then the side?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not, is it? Why are people writing down? Why isn't everyone looking up here? So, which one is it?
D.
Well, what is this one? Angle, side, side, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it has to be that one, doesn't it? And I bet you, let's mark it and make sure. RS is congruent to XZ. Okay, and I bet you ST congruent to what? Side, angle, side, right? It's the angle in between the two sides congruent, right? Remember the difference? The one that makes the cuss word and the one that doesn't. All right, let's go on to a different, these are all about congruent triangles. We okay on that?
Yeah.
The only one I needed help with on this side was 48 and 46.
Is everybody okay here that it's 60, right?
What's
Oh,
46?
okay, I got 30.
It would have been 30 if that would have been 60. The arc is the same as its central angle, half if it's an inscribed angle.
Yes.
Oh, I need to read it then. I need to read the question.
Oh.
Arc RS. The center of the circle is H. What is the measure of angle R to S to T? If the central angle is 50, what's the measure of this arc?
50.
What is then the measure of this inscribed angle? That's just knowing that fact, that they're half of it. And if you look at the picture, does it not look like it's about half the measure of that other angle? Circle in the center, this is an equilateral triangle. It means that's 60, 60, 60, right? And these are all congruent. What is the measure of arc W, Y, X? Right there. What's the measure? I don't know the measure of that arc, but do I know the measure of that arc?
Yeah.
What is it?
You just subtract 360.
It's 60.
Oh.
This one is 60, right?
Yeah.
So what's the big arc they're asking for?
300.
Come in. Okay. Were you here late? What do we know about here? Measure, when they intersect inside the triangle, you add those two, divide by 2, that's that. So this would be what? 110 plus what?
40 equals 150.
So it would be 150 divided by 2, which is what?
75.
Wait, why'd you put it over 2?
Because that's the formula.
I
That
don't
when they
remember.
intersect inside the triangle, you add the intercepted arcs up and divide by 2. If they intersect outside the triangle, remember the ones that look like that? To get angle 1 here, you subtract the 2 and divide by 2 to get that angle.
So inside you add, divide by 2, outside subtract.
Divide by 2. Yep. XY is a tangent, which tells you that right there, that if it comes from the center, it's perpendicular. That's a right angle. What is the measure of XHY? HY, that's 90. What's that got to be?
55,
Why?
because it's a supplementary.
That's a straight line, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if that's 125, that's whatever's left out of
180.
180. Now, if that's 55, that's 90. Those two together make 145 degrees. So what's left for that one right there to be? That's a triangle, isn't it?
35.
35.
When they intersect inside the circle, that times that equals that times that, right? So x times x plus 3 equals what? 4 times what? 2.5. So x squared plus 3x is equal to 10. X squared plus 3x minus 10 is equal to 0.
So negative 3 plus or minus square root of 3 minus 4 times 1.
For those of you that know how to factor, you can factor this like this. Plus 5 minus 2. Does anybody know why?
No, I didn't want to try to know.
Two numbers that multiply to get that, add to get that. 5 times negative 2 is a what? Negative 10. 5 plus a negative 2 is a what? Positive 3. You can split it up. X plus 5 is equal to 0. X minus 2 is equal to 0. add 2, x is equal to 2, subtract 5, x is equal to negative 5. Now, using the quadratic formula, like I said, is more of the slam dunk. Negative b, so negative 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared, 3 squared minus 4 times whatever a is, which is what? 1 times c, what is negative 10,
all over 2a.
all over 2 times whatever a is, which is 1. So that becomes a what? Negative 3. Zoom out a little bit. Negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 plus 40. All of that over 2. That becomes 49, making that what?
7.
Over 2. So when you add them, it's negative 3 plus 7 over 2 and negative 3 minus 7 over 2, which gives you negative 5 and 2, right?
Yes.
Which one's the answer?
2.
2, the one that's positive. What do we know about here? If they intersect on the outside, that's congruent to that, right? That's 80. What's this? 200 and what?
It's 80.
80. Because that's what's left there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll define this angle right there when they intersect on the outside. Subtract the arcs intercepted and divide by 2. So it's 280 minus what?
80.
80 divided by 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's 200 divided by what?
2 is 100.
Which is 100. Answer C.
So wait, you got 280 from subtracting 80 from 360?
Right, because this is a tangent, so that's what's left out of 360.
Okay. So why would you?
When they intersect on the outside, you subtract the 2 intercepted arcs, divide by 2. When they intersect on the inside, you add the intercepted arcs, divide by 2 to find the angle.
Wouldn't it be the same thing if one was a secant too, or a second? Or
Second.
Yeah,
the same
but
equation.
but the problem is you wouldn't just be able to subtract from 360 because there'd
Yeah.
be some left on each side.
You'd have to.
Hopefully they give it to you.
Yeah.
Hopefully they give you that information. Here, what do you think they're going to have you do here? What theorem?
Diagram.
So you'd have x squared plus 12 squared is equal to 13 squared.
Mm-hmm.
If you're ever having problems with this, that's always pointing at the one that's by itself, isn't it? So 13 squared equal to that. So we got x squared plus 144 is equal to 169. Subtract 144 from both sides. And now, Rachel, you were talking about this early. Just what helps you sometimes, if you're ever confused, just read what's in front of you. X squared is equal to 25. What did they ask you to find?
X.
So they didn't ask you to find x what? Squared, they asked you to find x. So you know there might be something in your head tell you, okay, I'm a little off here. I need to do something. How do I make an x squared into an x? Well, I take the square root of square root of x squared is x, right? But whatever I do to one side, I have to what? Do to the other.
I did 25, like I got all that and then went to 25 equals 2.
And of course, look what they do there.
Yeah, and well I got 12.5 because I did 25 divided by 2 is exactly 12.5.
No, it's squared. If it was 2x, you divide it, but it's squared, you take square root.
Well,
And of course, look at them. They're going to have that there for that mistake and that there for that.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, that's kind of,
They almost got
well,
Looks like Miss Privilege's tests.
being stupid.
okay, an isosceles triangle. Okay, they told you it's isosceles. It's 13, XY is 13 inches in length.
Oh, it's 53.
Oh. Obtuse triangle. Okay, but this is better explained as a picture because this is something that's really hard to kind of remember per se, but here's the way I always look at it. Whenever I have the two sides of a triangle and I know it is, that's, in this case, what? A squared plus B squared is equal to what?
C squared.
Okay? Now, what would have to happen with this exact triangle, everybody look up here, for C to start getting smaller? What would have to happen for
The
C?
legs would have to be smaller.
Okay, here, if I did it kind of like that, I'm going to roughly make them about the same length, okay?
The hypotenuse got smaller.
What happened? This angle
gets
got
bigger.
smaller.
A gets bigger.
So what's happened? C squared got what? Smaller. So, When a squared plus b squared is bigger than c squared, because c got what? Smaller, it's what? Acute. As this angle gets smaller, c gets smaller. So the a squared plus the b squared is bigger than the c squared, right? What has to happen for this to get bigger in the exact same triangle?
The angle has to get bigger.
The angle has to get what?
Bigger.
And what does that make it here?
The c squared bigger.
That means a squared plus b squared is actually smaller than what? So whenever, as your hypotenuse gets bigger, it becomes, when it gets bigger than a squared plus b squared, it's what? Obtuse. When it's smaller, it's what?
Acute.
So your whole deal here, you see the logic of why that happens? As that angle gets bigger, the 90-degree angle gets bigger than 90, that hypotenuse has to get longer, doesn't it? As that angle gets smaller, as this angle gets smaller, the hypotenuse, gets smaller, making it an acute triangle, and therefore making this an obtuse. So back to this one. Where are we at? Because if you just try to memorize that formula, you're always going to get mixed up. Which one was it? Greater than or less than? I can't remember. I can't even remember to this day. So I have to think of the logic of it and understand the concept of it. And if you think about it, it's not that bad. Because you guys understand that as an angle gets bigger, the area it holds gets bigger, doesn't it? So as I look at this, I find the two smaller ones. I want this to be obtuse. So that means C's bigger, right?
Yes.
So C squared has to be what? Bigger than what? A squared plus what?
B squared.
So right here, 3 squared's what?
9.
You're going to have 9 plus 9, what? And then here, 4 squared's what? 16. What is that compared to the next one, which is 16?
Bigger.
Well, it's bigger. A squared plus B squared is bigger, so that's what? Acute. Here, 6 squared's what? 36 plus 7 squared's what?
49.
12 squared's 144.
It's cute.
Which one's bigger? 144 or that?
144.
You're done.
Be 85.
That's got to be the obtuse triangle, doesn't it?
Swag.
Because what's the biggest?
I guessed on that one.
There. Here, look at here. Think about it. Isn't 5 squared plus 12 squared going to be bigger than 13 squared?
Yep.
Your C squared needs to be the biggest one. So your last one squared needs to be bigger than the other two. And 6 squared plus 8 squared is definitely added together. Is going to be bigger than 9 squared, isn't it?
Yeah.
Makes sense? How could you also do this? Let's say you remembered that there's a relationship, but you can't remember which one it is. I just did this. I had 3 of them where the a squared plus b squared was what? Bigger.
Yeah.
I had 1 of them where it was what?
Small.
Which one's the answer? Even if you don't remember. The one that's by itself, right? So if all you remembered about this was it has something to do with a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and you just compared and did that for all 3 of them, you could figure out which one had to be the answer, right? Okay? All right. We're okay here, Omi. How are we here? 30, 60, 90 triangle, don't forget. Always label S, L, H, right? First thing you find is S. S is either equal to what? The hypotenuse divided by what? 2, or S is equal to the longer leg divided by a square root of 3. This is in a what? 30, 60, what? 90. These are the type of things you got to study. The hypotenuse is always what?
2 times
2
S.
times S. The leg is always square root of 3 times what?
Oh.
You got everything you need.
Mean S?
Plug and chug.
S.
S on L.
Oh, I'm sorry. Times S. What did they give to you?
They give you
The S.
Oh, L.
They gave you S, didn't they?
Yes.
Across from the 30-degree angle.
Oh, yeah.
So that's 6 square roots of 3, and that's
12.
12.
Will they give you the formulas for those in the AOI?
No.
Or do you know them?
I don't think so. 45, 45 triangle.
Let's try the same. See.
Here's the thing. If you forgot the rules for 45, 45 triangle, what could you use?
Diagonal theorem.
Yeah, because you know 2 of them are the same, right?
Yes.
Does that make sense? So you could be x squared plus x squared equals c squared, right? What did they give you here? They gave you 8 squared plus what? 8 squared equals what? C squared. Can't you find the other one? if you forgot the shortcut. But it's always whatever this is times the square root of 2, so it's what? 8 square roots of what? 2. What is the measure of angle R? It's got to be a 45. Why does those have to be 45? Because those two are what?
You're right.
And there's only one way to split up 90 degrees.
That's right.
In radical form, what is the perimeter here?
Alright, got this one right. I know it.
This is 8.
Yeah.
This is 6. What's this?
6.
What's this?
6.
We have S. What's this?
6 radical 3.
What's this then?
12, and then the other one would be
6 square roots of 2.
Yes.
Right? So how am I? They said in radical form. So to find the perimeter, it's what? 12 plus what?
16
Plus 8 plus what?
Radical
6
2.
radical 2 plus what?
6,
Plus what?
8.
Plus what?
6 radical
6
3.
radical 3.
I have like terms here, 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 and here, correct?
Yes.
That's 20, 26. I have 34 plus 6 radical 2 plus 6 radical 3. Guess what? There's your answer, isn't it?
Yes. B.
Those are not like terms, are they?
How'd you get the 6 square roots of 3, 6 square root of 2?
You can't.
30,
add 'em.
60, 90.
I got D.
That's S. So that's 6 square roots of 3, right? That's H. So, and it's actually the exact same triangle as this, isn't it? So that's 12. So I just add them all up together to get the perimeter. So what you do is, like I said, 12 plus 8 is 20. Plus 6 is 26. Plus 8 more is 34. And then plus 6 square roots of 3 plus 6 square roots of 2.
How
Yeah.
did you get the 6 on the inside?
Because it's a 45-45 triangle. So if that's 45, that's 45, meaning those have to be congruent. That was kind of what had to start you there, because you had to know something about this triangle to find the other two sides. So that finding out that was 6 is what led you to finding
Yeah,
that one 6.
I did wrong.
What is the tangent of angle W? What is tangent? SOHCA TOA. TOA.
TOA.
Opposite over what?
Adjacent.
So look
3
at W.
over
What's the
4.
opposite?
3,
What's the adjacent?
4.
So what's the tangent?
A.
Oh, let's go stop.
Huh?
I thought that was you.
I didn't do that. Okay, right here. Which equation can you use to find it? Okay. What information is given to you? What is that?
Opposite.
And what is this?
Hypotenuse.
Hypotenuse. So that's so, right? So sine of always a sine of a what? Angle. What's the sine of what?
Sine of 20
Equal the
degrees.
opposite, which is what?
10
Over the hypotenuse, which is?
R.
Which one?
So that's A.
A.
Is that what I put?
Wait,
Of course it is.
So, ka, toa.
Toa.
Wait, will you do 60?
Suck Toa.
I didn't like 60.
I didn't understand.
I really didn't.
I tried it like 3 times.
I guessed on this. I'm just gonna be dead honest with you. I didn't even bother. Like, it was just
This is 4, right?
What?
4.
why?
It's 10 feet
Oh,
to the
yeah.
rim and he's 6 foot tall.
Yeah. I got that. That's about as far as I got.
I wish I was 6 feet. I'm 6 foot. Really?
How far is the rim from where she's standing? So which one are they asking for?
Oh, they're
The
asking
bottom
for
one.
The bottom one.
This is the distance to the rim?
Yes.
What do you guys think?
No.
No, I think.
If you were driving a car, would you end up at the rim right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what you guys are saying, if Tulsa's right here and Owasso's right here and you're over here in Claremore, if you drive to Owasso
You're
and I ask you to drive to drive to Tulsa, which line are you going to take here, the top one or the bottom
the
one?
top
Top
one.
one. I see.
Agreed? So if they ask you what the distance is from what? Her to the what? Rim, you better go what? Straight to the what?
Rim.
So this is what they're asking for.
Oh, well, it
Does that make sense?
certainly could have helped it have been a little bit more specific.
No, they don't need to be more specific.
That's perfect, right
But
there.
you could say
It's
like
10
No,
feet.
they don't need to be more specific. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Was there any confusion here?
No.
no, but
But I
that's
said the
that's
exact
cities.
same. No, I said the exact same thing. What is the distance from Claremore to Tulsa? Would you measure it by going to Owasso?
If it was a,
You would measure it by going to Owasso.
if it was
I didn't
straight line
ask
like
you to go
that,
on 2 lines. I said, no, you're not right. You need to realize that they gave you plenty of information. If I asked you to tell me which line represents the distance from Claremore to Owasso, or Claremore to Tulsa, you would say this one, hands down, every time, wouldn't you? It's just that in your mind, you were thinking, okay, that gets me to what? The level of the rim. And yes, it does, but they asked for the distance from what? Them to the what? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you were wrong to be confused about it. Does that make sense? But I'm saying in all essence, they gave you enough information. And you know what I did to help myself understand that? I brought up terms that are more familiar to you, didn't you? So you guys could do the same type of thing. Okay?
So is that fair to just say to confuse us?
Now, with that in mind, how am I going to find x? With the relationship to the angle, they've given me the what? Opposite and the what?
Hypotenuse.
So what SOH, right?
So what are you
So
gonna do?
sine of 25 is equal to the opposite, which is what?
4.
4 over the hypotenuse, which is what?
X.
So that you wouldn't make you use a computer or a calculator, they gave you what?
the sine.
So what do you think they want you to use for sine?
That
0.42.
So instead of having sine of 25, what do you put in there?
0.42.
So 0.42 is equal to 4 over x.
Anytime.
Cross multiply and what? 0.42x is equal to 4. Divide both sides by what?
0.42. You get swag.
When things seem confusing, the simplest solution seems to be the best one, doesn't it? What do you get when you do that?
You get 9.52380954.
Holy smokes, I got it right.
That's just gonna be 9. Oh, to the nearest foot, my bad. Yeah, it's 9. Is that what I put?
I did a good job of guessing on that one.
What's up? Good job, Taylor.
Yeah.
Taking
I mean, you do
Well,
that.
I'm not scared of passing.
I'm so taking that.
They're gonna give you every single question they give you.
you get caught like 4 out of 5
Then they
times.
give hard.
I didn't know they could call that.
It's gonna give you formulas.
She was just like,
It's usually gonna tell you what
pick
formula
up
they
through my
use
pencil. She was like, I was like,
after their.
Holy crap.
what? Holy smokes.
I'd rather freak out on my.
Yeah, I didn't see this down here.
Yeah, that's what I didn't like. I think it's basically the same thing.
See, that's why I didn't understand why it was wrong.
I didn't see that. I'm sorry. You're right. That's terrible.
Good job, Parker.
You're right because I didn't see that. But wouldn't you agree with my logic?
Yeah, I would.
How far are they from it? I mean, that's how far it is from the rim, right?
Yeah.
Can we just leave
They
it
didn't
at
say
that?
how. So either one of these answers is right. But don't make them again. It's sometimes good to make mistakes on here. I don't care if I upload and it's on the internet.
Remember to sneeze?
Okay, it's a mistake, but in a way it isn't. If I just went by what I read, doesn't that make sense? But they added. I should have used all the information given to me, which was a picture as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And the picture told me from here to here. So as stupid as their wording sounds, the picture helps get rid of any confusion. So
Oh,
Parker
so it
was
would-
right.
So it wouldn't
I
be.
apologize, Parker.
Would it be?
But at the same time, if there were just words here, I was right. But because there weren't just words here, he was right.
So would
Because
it
he read the whole thing and I didn't. So I'll give it up to him.
be, would it be tangent?
Are you recording that?
It's recorded and I'll upload it. I don't care.
P. Diddy Dunn
Hey,
was
you know
right.
what's good?
ladies
I'm
and
telling you,
gentlemen.
when you make mistakes, it makes you guys listen sometimes. And, you understand why it was a mistake now, don't you?
Wait,
Do I agree with their logic here?
Wait, is it still the
Never
same
will
answer?
I ever agree to their logic. But if they give you, make sure and use every bit of information available to help you make the right decision. I didn't do that. I just used the what? Words and jumped over here and tried to quickly get it done because I'm trying to get through as many problems as I can do, right?
Yes.
Can we get all the answers before
Is it about time?
Yeah,
It's
it's
time
like
to go right now.
27.
Let me ask you, Bob.
It's about that time.
I don't have the answers. I just know how to do it.
Shoot. Wait, so would we use tangent?
Taylor catch.
Oh shoot. Let's go. girl that sits next to me on my workout. And she just kept on like fake swinging at me and making me think. She was like, "You fool."
What?
And I was just like, okay, and I like did it to her. She's like, "Me? Chill." I just guessed. No, I see. It should, hey, it should be. Hey. All I know is one day.
I don't know the answers for
That girl, I was like walking I'm all wrapped up and ready to go home.
All I said was I'm all revved up and ready to go.